Well, hey everybody, welcome back. This is Suzanne Jeffreys, aka Suze, and I'm here with a dear friend of mine, Jiva Salerno. This is one of the interviews we're doing as part of the 7-Day Kindness Challenge, and it's just been really fascinating so far. The people who have been drawn to being intentional about being kind for 7 days, and it's been so exciting to interview some people who I really respect and share them, so that they can really shed their light on the world and hopefully uplift you a little bit in these kind of complicated times. The purpose of this 7-Day Kindness Challenge really has just been to help people be intentional about doing 3 kind acts a day. I'm a huge believer in acknowledging the chaos, the crisis, and the struggles in the world today, then choosing a way to shift that energy, not just staying stuck on the struggles, but also say, okay, how can we make this better? And I'm just very, very clear that the world can always benefit from more kindness no matter what's going on. So in a nutshell, 3 simple steps. 1, be kind to yourself. 2, be kind to your family. 3, be kind to maybe a stranger or an acquaintance or a neighbor. And I really feel like Jiva can touch on all of these topics. So I'm going to just say, Jiva, thank you and welcome. I'm so happy you're making time.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to kind of connect with you again, chat again, and talk about this subject because it's definitely close to my heart. I'm all about connection and kindness for sure.
Yeah, and you are such a multifaceted human being in terms of your interests, your abilities, your experiences in life. I know that connection has always been a big part of your life's work. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started with all that? And there's some exciting projects she's working on, so I'll make sure that we also mention those. But just tell us how all this got started.
Well, how it kind of all got started really goes back to like 2011, 2012, where I found myself overwhelmed and burned out and was just not enjoying life at all. And I did an experiment at that point to see if I could intentionally recreate my life or create a new life. So I did an experiment for a year, basically took dating out of the picture for a year and focused on my own life and recreating it. And it was such an amazing experiment that I decided I needed to share with the world and with other women that it is possible to recreate your life. You don't have to be stuck in a rut. And so I decided to write about it, and I wrote a book, a memoir called Center of Gravity. Just, it tells the story about how over the course of the year, how my life changed so much, and what I did. So it's really a story. So I have been always, since that point, thinking about how can I help women to change their lives. But how my life really started to change very, very dramatically was when I went to Europe in 2016. And I saw how the people over there lived. They're really enjoying life and just a much more relaxed and, in a way, a kinder lifestyle because people were not so cutthroat and just able to really enjoy life. So when I came back, I had that in the back of my mind, and I was trying to think about what I wanted to do next. And in talking to a good friend of mine who's also has a psychology background, we decided to create a company called Creative Connection. And that's because we really saw that at the heart of everything was a lack of connection. People have been they've been so busy. We have been so busy in our lives. Like we've made busyness like a goal and a pedestal as if it's something to aspire to.
Yeah.
Instead of like enjoying our lives. So loneliness has really become pervasive and disconnection. So we wanted to combat that with the way that we knew connection was possible, and that's with creative arts. So we created a company where we'd go into organizations and facilitate these creative arts wellness events and mindfulness events. And it really helped people to connect to themselves and connect to each other. So we want the connection to the self from doing this expressive art kind of thing.
Right.
Also doing it in kind of a mindful way. So mindfulness, creative expression, but not doing it at home alone, doing these things in a group so that you're like connecting to community.
Right.
So connection is just so important to me. When we would do these events, it was amazing to see people just blossom, just really come out of themselves because they were expressing themselves and connecting to their peer group or connecting to other people at the event. And
let me interrupt you just for a sec. So I want to go back. You said some really
I'll
important
talk
things.
all day about connections.
I know. We can connect about that all the time. But there are a couple of things I really wanted to hear a little bit more about before you go on, because this conversation is so rich. And I know a little bit of backstory. So I just want to bring you back a little bit. When you went to Europe, you said that they lived a kinder, more relaxed lifestyle. The best way I understand different things is to hear stories. So do you have a story about maybe somebody you saw handling something, living in a way in Europe that was different from here, or how you lived here versus how you lived in Europe? I'd love to hear a story about that. How was a life in Europe where you were? How is it kinder and more connected, more relaxed?
Well, the whole culture has different values. So they value connecting with each other. They value spending time connecting. So it's not unusual to have a 2-hour lunch. Not unusual at all. Gotcha. And no one would blink an eye to think that that is inappropriate. That's perfectly appropriate to spend time connecting with other people.
And so you're not just talking about like a business lunch. It could be a business lunch, a family lunch, a hanging out with your friend, whatever, but really taking time to share a meal and share some really rich conversation and just visit and be together.
And be relaxed during that time. Just relaxing, enjoying each other, enjoying, catching up, talking, finding out more about someone. Nothing comes to mind right away as a specific story, but
if I had thought ahead, I would have been like, Jiva, prep some stories for our conversation.
Yeah, but just that difference in culture, it was such a shock to come back to the US and have like a high tension situation. When I came back, it was around the time of the election. Tensions were high and people were just busy. And it's like, what is this? This is not the way to live. What can I do to help with society here?
Got it. And then tell me, why did you write your book, Center of Gravity? Because you wanted to help more women understand how they could recreate their life?
Yes. And another thing that I did at that time was to create the group Over 40 Fearless and Free, which is for women. Originally, I thought it was going to be a way to connect with other women who are fearless and free. But it turned out to be lots of people joining this group because they have the values of fearless and free. They want to become more fearless and free. So we have women who are in the process of becoming fearless and free in this group from all over the world. So it started back in 2015. So 5 years now. And we have close to 8,000 members in the group. And all over the world. For some reason, we're getting a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand recently. But
there's
everywhere.
A lot of people from that part of the world in some different business and online and wellness groups I'm a part of as well. It's really interesting. Really interesting. And also a lot from Africa coming on. So I love how personally I love how being online can really, just where you are in the world doesn't matter a bit in terms of geographical difference. All right, so I'd love to ask you just to define a couple of things. I'd love to hear, fearless and free. I'd love to hear your definition of fearless, your definition of free, and a definition of kindness and connection. Because those are all like key points that we're covering. And everybody has a slightly different take, but we have a lot in common. So what does that mean to you? Start with any one of those.
Well, I tend to go chronologically. So beginning with fearless. So again, fearlessness is something that we aspire to. It is not something that we necessarily have to think that we are all the time, or that it's something that, like, even myself, that I have completely down. Mm-hmm. It's more about, especially at the point of being over 40, we've reached this point in our lives where we have experienced so much that we are not afraid of those things anymore. We've done that. We've already been there, whatever it is.
Yep.
Right. So there is this feeling of, I've done it. I've lived through so much. I've survived. I am much more fearless than when I was younger. Mm-hmm. So there is that feeling of fearlessness.
We have a different perspective, I think, at this age, where I'll speak for myself, where I know that, I've survived and done so much that I'm much more confident in who I am. I'm much less of a people pleaser, which used to dominate my life. I used to really need people's approval like all the time. And that's been a huge shift. And I always say, you know what? Every decade of my life gets better and better. I'm 57. I love my 50s. I can't wait for my 60s because I know that is going to continue. So I love what you're saying there.
Yeah. And also part of my spiritual training has to do with a particular type of Buddhism mm-hmm. that suggests to us to really embrace what is ever in front of us. Embrace it. And if it's fear, feel it and get into that fear and sit with it, talk with it, make friends with it. And when you do that, sometimes, I'm not going to guarantee this for anyone, but sometimes you see that what you are afraid of is actually not real, and that fear drops away. So the more that we can confront what we are afraid of and own it, the stronger we are and the more fearless we become. So something to aspire to. It's not necessarily the easiest practice in the world, let me tell you. It's quite a challenge.
Yeah. And what I love that you're saying is that fearlessness is not an absence of fear. It's being willing to take a look at it, as you say, sit down to it, talk to it, maybe love it, maybe see what we can learn from it, and then let it go. Whatever part of it doesn't serve us, to let it go. I think that's so important.
One part of our society that's not been serving us well in the United States is our inability to step up and embrace embrace our fears. Mm-hmm. We have created a situation where it's very, very normal for us to turn away from things that are going on and to pick up the phone or to take a drink or to
turn on the TV or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. We are really about turning away, and that is so problematic. Obviously, it's created a society that kind of embraces addiction as a coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Whether it's unhealthy eating or it's not eating enough or it's addiction, like whatever, addiction to rushing. Totally calling myself out there. And I've been really playing with releasing that. And for me personally, this time, the last few months, when, all 25 of my fitness classes were canceled. Has really, it's a horrible situation, of course, but I believe there's always something we can learn. And I've really been learning about how it's not healthy for me to be that busy. It's not productive. It's not beneficial. It's not in balance. And, as a Tai Chi instructor, and actually that's how you and I met. I was teaching your parents Tai Chi and they kept saying, you've got to meet Jiva. You've got to meet Jiva. They kept saying, I'm like, I'd love to meet Jiva. As someone who, I know you've also been a yoga instructor as well, teaching classes can be very life-giving, but there's got to be balance there too. So I love that. What about, so you talked about fearlessness. What about free? What does free mean to you?
The reason that I titled the group Over 40 Fearless and Free is to help women realize when they're at this age and maybe divorced that they're actually free. And if they can embrace their freedom, it's a huge blessing. So to rather than look at like the negative side of divorce and being divorced at 40, over 40, to look at this amazing opportunity of being free. And I think that it's something that women haven't looked at. We tend to look at what's missing rather than looking at the opportunities that we have. So that's kind of why I called the group Over 40 Fearless and Free, is to really look at all these amazing opportunities that you can do with your life. You can do anything now. So
yeah, and it's almost like having been divorced myself. It can be scary, especially if you've got young children. You're not sure of how you're going to afford to pay for things. But beyond that, in terms of the personal side, the idea that changes happen, it creates a lot of space, time space, mental space, emotional space, that we can, if we choose to fill up with stuff that just gives us great delight and purpose. So yeah, that's wonderful. Tell me about kindness and connection. And I know that you've just written a really wonderful article about this. So tell me about that.
Yes, the article's called How Kindness Connects the World. And so beginning with the connection part, I would go back to the idea of needing to connect with ourselves and connect with the community more. But we as human beings have needed connection for survival. We've needed each other. And I think that's another thing about our society that's really problematic, is we value individuality so much that people have become islands, and it's created huge problems in the United States in terms of people feeling isolated and lonely. And that's led to everything from mental health issues to addiction issues. So again, connection is so important for us on an individual and as a collective. So just having that ability to connect so that we can cooperate and survive as a species. So that's the connection part. People who are connected well to society tend to be healthier, physically healthier, emotionally, psychologically, and mentally healthier. So there's, again, the idea that we need to connect to ourselves and really like learn who we are as an individual, and spend time with self-care, and then connect to society, connect to a group, and feel like a part of something. And that it's just so healing. It's been healing for the people that come to the groups, the work that we've done in Creative Connection, where we go into organizations and help people do creative arts together. you would not believe the difference that it makes in people from before to after an event. You'll see someone just so closed off, start to do some creative arts work, whether it's painting or music or whatever, and they just come out of themselves and they just blossom, and they're connecting and socializing, and by the end it's almost like a different person. And you get something similar in the women's group in Over 40 Fearless and Free. I've had so many people comment that I love this group, and maybe because it's a closed group and it's not, open to, just the public to see, people feel very safe to be vulnerable and to share. So yeah, connection is super important, very healing. But if we talk about kindness, to me, kindness is like connection in action. It's where we get to see these connections being made. Kindness comes from, I love etymology. I love the study of what words mean, because words are so powerful. And kindness comes from two different words. One is an old English word that I'll probably mispronounce, jisin, something like that, which means like nature, a type, a kind, and kunja, which means, it's a old Germanic word that means family or kin. So kindness is all about realizing that at our core, we are the same. We are kin. We are humans. We are the same. So when I do something good for you, I'm doing something for myself, because I'm doing something for my own species. There's also the idea that we're not doing it out of obligation. So we are treating someone as if they are family, knowing that they are not. That's the heart of kindness right there. And
Super
kindness,
powerful.
it can be anything that you just see that needs to be done. Somebody needs help loading groceries into the car. You don't know them, but you treat them like you would treat family. You do them a kindness by helping them out. You see someone in a difficult situation. We have so many difficult situations going on right now.
Lots of opportunity right now.
Country, you see someone in a difficult situation, and you step up and you do what you can do to help in that situation. You do a kindness, realizing that they are not family, but they are your kin, because they are a human being. So this is the glue. This is what pulls our world together. It pulls societies together. Kindness, these acts of kindness, of treating other people like they are kin, is the glue that connects us. And that's how we move forward and stay strong as a species.
Beautiful. We have a couple minutes before I want to wrap up. 2 questions. Well, the first one is, can you tell me a little bit, like a quick story about when someone was kind to you? Just some unexpected, not necessarily a close friend or a close family member, but someone who was kind to you. Could have been something simple or something big.
I see and experience kindness every day. I am so blessed, and I think that part of it has to do with being grateful. I've been doing a gratitude practice for 28 days. And the more gratitude you show for any type of kindness, the more that it grows, because there's something energetically about acknowledging kindness that when you acknowledge it, you are giving back energetically, connecting to something greater than yourself, whether, connecting to other people energetically. And it's just such a beautiful thing. So yes, I experience kindness so many times. I'm very lucky, and very, very grateful.
And it can just change your whole mood, right? I mean, for me, if someone just opens the door or smiles, or, it can be the smallest gesture, or says, "Oh, I like your dress," or like whatever. It's just, it can shift everything. And I just have such a deep belief that we never know what someone else is going through ever. Probably because of that lack of connection you're talking about and the individuality and being an island. And sometimes there's people all around us, whether, we're at the grocery store or at work or wherever we are, and they're suffering, and they're really suffering intensely, but they're not showing it. And I do know to be true that when we just can be kind, whenever we see the opportunity, authentically, it can be a small gesture or a big gesture, that it can shift someone's whole day and maybe even their life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And I really enjoy spreading kindness like confetti.
Ooh, I like that image. I wish I had a little of that kindness confetti.
Yes.
I love that.
So I think one of the greatest ways we can be kind in the world is to acknowledge other people's presence. So when I am out in the public, I try to make eye contact and smile at people when I can, when I feel authentically that I can do that. But just treating people that I interact with, whether it's people, who are clerks in a store or someone on the street, just acknowledging their presence. Hello, how are you? How are you doing today? Hi, how's it going? Because people with this whole disconnection and loneliness, people become invisible. They start feeling invisible, whether they know it or not. And to just be acknowledged, people blossom.
It's to be affirmed.
Bloom.
To be
yes.
Affirmed. Yep.
People
really
need this.
Can melt away differences.
As a base level, this is something that we need to do in terms of kindness, is just acknowledging everyone around us.
1,000,000%. Well, Jiva, we need to wrap up in just a couple of minutes. I just wanted to ask, first of all, I would love for you to share with people where they can find you online. So if they want to learn more about you, about your first book, Center of Gravity, or about the new book you're working on, you want to tell us a little bit about that, how they can find out more?
Probably the best way to keep in touch is through my website, jivasalerno.com. All kinds of interesting things on that website. So get in there and check it out. I'll certainly be putting updates about the new book. The new book, it's such a joy to be writing right now. It's so exciting because I've learned so much over the last 18 months. And to be able to get it down in writing and share it is really exciting for me. So yes, and if you happen to be a woman who is over 40 and you value fearlessness and freedom and want to make some great friends all around the world, then I would say join us on Facebook in the group Over 40 Fearless and Free. But yeah, jivasalerno.com is a great way to connect with me as well. So.
And I'm going to spell it GEVASALERNO.com. Jiva, it's always such a lovely interaction whenever we connect, which is not very often. And I'm thrilled that you made time today. I thank you for that. And I love what you're doing in the world. I would love to have a part 2 at some point where we can catch up more. But thank you for the gift that you are to the world. And thank you for sharing some of your adventures. And I cannot wait to get my hands on your new book. Oh, by the way, the article you just written that you were mentioning, Kindness Connects the World, we'll put a link to it in the comments so everybody can go and take a look at that because it's really powerful.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on here. It was really great to connect with you again and spend some time. Beautiful forum. And it's a wonderful thing that you're doing with the challenge, the kindness challenge.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to connect with me, you can get me on Facebook as Suzanne B. Jeffreys, or you can go to my website, which is suzjeffreys.com, SUZJEFFREYS.com. And I'd be happy to share a little bit of Tai Chi with you. We've got some wonderful stress relieving and rebalancing moving meditations that are free. You just got to go to my website and ask for them. I'll be happy to share. All right, Jiva, enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. You've made it better for so many of us, and I look forward to reconnecting soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye
Bye.
now.